Craig Hughes is someone I get to call friend before I ever have to call him a guest. And that matters because tonight isn't simply a conversation. It's a jam session with someone I value. Here's what most people will meet for the first time. Body by Craig, 4-time National Pageant Trainer of the Year, home of Miss USA 2025, Audrey Eckerd. And I quote, "We coach to win, not compete," end quote. That's not a line. That's how he lives. But here's what I didn't know until recently. Before any of that, there's 30 years. Phi Beta Kappa, a full ride into Harvard, a career that ran through Asia into Wall Street. That man became this man. I don't fully understand the bridge yet. That's what this is for. So let's not overthink it. Curiosity, conviction, camaraderie. Craig, brother, it's good to have you. Let's go. Craig Hughes. Awesome to have you with us. Yes, sir.
Body by Craig. That's the guy. That dude. That crazy guy. Yeah.
Body by Craig. Let's define that in the most important way possible. Let's push the body aside. Let's get after the person, and then we'll jump back into the body. Signature opening, 3-part question. Tackle it any way you want. Sir, who are you? Who have you been? And who are you becoming?
Well, that's a great question. Too deep for me. So can I? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I mean, I've always been results oriented. I've always been, into performance, and, I won't call it optimization. How about maximization of self? If I've got potential and I want to pull it out of myself to the highest extent possible. And if I have any skill, and I don't claim that at all, but I've always had a gift. Since I was a little kid, like the age of my grandson, my oldest grandson right now, 2.5, I was always able to see through people, to see who they really are, and to really judge their true potential. And I try to surround myself with clients who have real potential and are willing to break the boundaries and the barriers to get there. So I'm all about that. I'm about performance, transformation, and lifestyle, not any other significance. I'm not running 40 miles a week, unless I want to enter a swim contest, unless I have a specific goal. That's not sustainable to me. That's not organic. That's not natural. That's forcing myself through something. And there are downsides to that. I'm going to have to deal with the cortisol and the stress and everything that comes from that. I'm not lifting 40 hours a week. I don't have that kind of time. The work I do is very much like this. It's virtual, around the world. So I train live like this in every gym, every situation, every circumstance you can possibly imagine, with every manner of equipment and lack of equipment possible. And it's my job to pull that 5-star potential out of you, to teach you how to do it yourself, to sustain it and maintain it, and then teach you the real work, which is from the inside out. And that's how you sustain lasting success in this world, whether you want to be a mom of 10 kids, or you want to be a power broker in the world, or you're a top athlete, a top executive, etc. Most people are satisfied with going through the motions. They're satisfied with credentials. They're satisfied with significance. I'm satisfied with reality and real results.
Craig, I appreciate that. There's some seminal moments that you glossed over, and I want to give you some feedback from getting to know you. You're an accomplished entrepreneur. I consider you a life coach in the best way possible.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
You're a father, a community, and people mean more to you. And that is, in my opinion, your purpose.
People are everything, and they're the only thing. Individuals, not groups.
You're also a pioneer, innovating the private one-on-one coaching model for pageant competitors, individual live one-on-one content and coaching, rather than a group or franchise model that seems to dominate the space so often. I think that brings a level of personalized attention. And I recognize you as one who meets the audience, whoever that may be or where they are, with no judgment. And that's a statement to your ego and your approach. But let's not forget your multi-year track record working, in your own words, 7 days a week, all year, every day, 365. And for that, there's a level of discipline and motivation and learning. So we have to include a curious one, a student of everything that goes into delivering better. Listen, do me this favor. Take me to the actual start of Body by Craig. Before any titles, what did the first version look like? And before there was anyone outside your immediate circle knowing it existed, talk to me about the start.
Great question. It started before I started, but even when I was on Wall Street, even when I was a management consultant doing all that highfalutin big work with all the authority and all the garbage that goes with it, which means nothing, by the way. I was always a student of what's really meaningful to me. I mean, I had no immune system. I was born a long time ago to a mom, a day smoker.
Wow.
They extracted me from her body with forceps, surgical procedure. They separated me from my mom at birth because she was knocked out. And I think, I was never breastfed. I had no immune system. I caught everything and anything that went around. It didn't matter what it was. I had mumps. I don't even know what that is. At 6 months of age, seriously. And I caught everything. And I got to the point where, as I grew up and, went through what I went through, I was still sick all the time. And I just couldn't sustain any kind of real energy, any kind of real focus. I would work in bursts and they would be very intense, and then I'd have to crash out. And I finally got fed up and I went to all my doctors at Harvard and I said, look, can we have a discussion about health and wellness? Because I'm sick all the time. I had my fourth sinus infection this winter. And this is the winter before my first daughter was born. And my wife at the time was pregnant. So I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to take care of this little baby when I don't even know how to take care of myself? This is ridiculous. And my dad was a doctor. So I grew up in that whole allopathic, symptomatic, treat the symptoms and, pray. But hope you don't get side effects from what they give you. And they just looked at me and said, well, we have this new antibiotic. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. I said, I'm looking for a more meaningful discussion. You guys are pros, you're experts. Tell me how to be good. Tell me how to be well. And I looked at these guys and they're all fat and they're overweight and the women are, this and that, and nobody's in shape. And I'm like, why would I want to take advice from you idiots? You don't even know how to take care of yourselves. So I fired them, fired my medical. I just said, that's it. I'm done. I said, I'm a Phi Beta Kappa. I've got better education than you. I may not know jack crap about medicine or anything else, but neither do you, because it's not helping me. You can treat my symptoms if I have an acute injury. I'm depending on you for my life. But when it comes to my daily health and maintenance, you don't know the first freaking clue of what you're talking about. So that's what started me on my journey. It took me to seminars, conferences all over the world when I had time, health, fitness, wellness, nutrition. I got to listen to all the experts. And then I found out almost all of them are full of complete crap, because it's all an op. It's all a sales pitch. It's all significance. It's all focusing on things and specialties and all that. And there was no holistic approach. So I began to dedicate myself for the last 35 years to following, where the science leads, where the results lead. I would actually went to people I worked with on Wall Street who were healthy and had energy. And I just sit down with them and say, why are you healthy? And they laugh at me. And I say, I'm not joking. It's a serious question because I don't seem to be able to do that. Well, you do this and that, and I'm just listening. So I'm picking it up and then I'm curious, as you said. So I'm always exploring. I'm always digging deep. And I began to discover things. And I began to fall into energy work. I actually, had in my previous lifetime had done some work in a Buddhist temple or had spent some time there. So I had learned, certain aspects of quieting the mind, to keep it from being overactive. And I began just to pull things together. And I really developed my own eclectic approach to this. So when I bodybuild, when I would body sculpt, when I would do nutrition, and I was feeling my way through it, I would do it from a different energy place. I would manufacture, create a space for that, where I would do it with openness, with open energy, with an intention, a vision, a visual intention of what I'm going to create, who I'm going to create. and I would work out from that place. I would do my work from that place and nowhere else. I wouldn't just go to the gym. Oh God, I got to do the treadmill, 35 minutes. I got to hit these numbers and all this stuff. No, 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 no. I began to vibe my way through it. I began to feel the energy. When I created a safe space to do it, I was able to get the results, and they would actually come very quickly. And people, all kinds of people, and I'm an executive on Wall, would come up to me. I'm an executive on Wall Street. And they come up to me, like, how do you do this? We've been watching you in the gym. Will you train me? I'm like, I'm not a trainer, dude. I'm not a coach. I work down the street. That's not what I do. I was always amused by that. But as circumstances changed, my mom got sick, and that was around 2010, 11, 12, somewhere in that range. And I had to give up my life. I had to move from Miami Beach, where I lived at that time, and I was really just flailing away at a rather uninspiring Wall Street career, which I could have cared less about. And I was forced to give up everything and move into like an 8 by 10 bedroom or something in my mom's townhome in order to take care of her. And she had a couple of friends of hers from church who were grandparents to this young girl who wanted to be Miss Virginia USA. Well, I have two daughters, but they were New York City girls. They didn't do pageants, they did other things. One of my daughters was a reality TV star on Bravo on NYC Prep. It was the original Gossip Girls. That was like 14 years ago. So she's Camille on NYC Prep, if you want to look her up. Same last name, Hughes. And of course, I was the real star of that show. And I got no credit for that. And all my best work ended up on the B-roll floor. Just as a quick aside, it was a funny story. I was training a guy in London 6-7 years ago. He says, I saw you today on the Bravo website. You were actually jolly good, jolly good. I said, what the hell are you talking about? Bravo website. He goes, oh, I thought it was quite good, actually. Actually, I did. You were in your business suit, you were in your coat, and you were counseling your daughter. And it was really good advice. It was really good. And you have a great interaction with your daughter. And I'm like, what's going on? So as soon as I went to Bravo, of course, they'd taken it down. My best work, gone. Anyway, but he had seen it, and I was like shocked. So apparently, when you capture things on celluloid, or whatever, digital celluloid, it never goes away. But anyway, my mom introduced me to the grandparents, who introduced me to the granddaughter and to their mom. And I said, look, because I was training myself, I had nothing to do in this small town in Virginia. So I said, I'll go with you to this orientation, this mixer, and I'll see what's going on. So I went to this Virginia USA mixer. God, it was probably 2013. Different structure. The Trump organization owned USA and Universe at that time, so it was operated more like a celebrity type style business, not a vanity business, really. There were real professional management teams in there. And I went and listened, and this guy stood up and started talking about nutrition. He says, I have this perfect plate. It was a cafeteria plate, one with the little sections on it. And he says, I'm selling this for $400. This was back in 2013, along with the program that goes with it. You can eat anything you want as long as it fits into the designated sections of this plate. And I'm sitting there, I'm looking around like,
Yeah.
I'm being punked, right?
Yeah.
Ashton Kutcher is going to jump out from behind the curtain and say, dude, you're being punked, man. You're being punked. I was like, this is a joke, right? This guy, and nobody's laughing around like I'm the only one who gets this. And I sat back and I was appalled. And then I kind of mingled to the crowd. You circulate, meet people. And then I heard the assistant director call my girl I went there with her mom, call her a fat ass under his breath. I mean, he was just muttering about it because gossip and cancel culture is huge in the fashion world. You know that. You know that as well as everybody, Miles. And it's certainly rampant in pageantry. And I guess I felt my face start to flush. That's not a good sign because I can be very nasty if you get me upset. So I went to the mom and said, we need to leave. So we walked outside to the car, and I stood with them both outside the car and said, I quit. I said, I cannot advise you any longer on working to achieve this goal. I said, instead, I'm going to stop everything else I'm doing in my life, and I'm going to train you myself. I'm going to coach you myself, and we are going to win that crown, and then we're going to go to Miss USA and show out, and you are going to be completely transformed in just 3 months. And that's exactly what I did. So 4 months, 5 months later, this girl who was perpetually 40 to 50 pounds over fat. She was just a chubster, that's why they called her a fat ass, I guess. She won Miss Virginia USA. And then 6 months later on NBC TV in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, she was the first national semifinalist called out in her white bikini on NBC TV. And there I was on the big screen. I was in the audience. I could see myself. I was being broadcast all over. And she was the first, I think, semifinalist from the state of Virginia since like 1976 or something insane like that. Now, we didn't win. We did really well, but that was the beginning of all this craziness. So I couldn't have stopped training fashion models, pageant women, bikini models if I'd wanted to. They started lining up around the block. Mr. Craig, would you train? Get out of here? I don't do this. I don't want anything to do with you. Get lost. And then, it was just, but Mr. I want to be like Ariel. I want to be like her. So of course I just fell into it that way. And the rest is history. I made it a goal to bring real professional nutrition and training and mindset coaching to this business of entitled narcissistic women. And in order to do that, I had to find those with 5-star potential all over the country, all over the world, those willing to break the mold, those willing to challenge themselves, those willing to stop being people pleasers and start setting their own agenda. And then the rest is history. I got in this crazy business. Trust me.
No, thank you. Let's put a pin on that for a second and create a foundation. Explain to us what pageantry is above and beyond what we can see on television. Because I have a novice's point of view, which comes from I tune into Miss America and then I'm out. I don't understand the circumstances and the activities that go into it. And I think if you could share that with us, it would help define what a 5-star potential is and how we go a little deeper.
Well, the top women in pageantry, listen, again, I could have cared less about it too, except to me, Miss USA, a state USA title holder, was a public celebrity. She was thrust into the press, into the media. She was thrust into a public role where she was recognized at the malls, the shopping centers. She did appearances and all of that. But I thought it was a complete joke. I always laughed at it. And people still laugh at it today. They have no concept of what it really is. But the top women in pageantry use it as a springboard to learn those vital life skills that they need to succeed at whatever the hell, you stay-at-home mom with several kids, or you want to go conquer the legal world or get elective office or whatever it is you want to do. Pageantry has the tremendous potential, and it's still unfulfilled potential, really. But to be that proving ground, a lot of these pageant girls are athletes, and athletics are so limited. The training is so institutionalized. It's so cookie cutter. It's so narrow, that they don't get to do an interview and have to explain who they really are before they step out, like I said, on the basketball floor, or the lacrosse field, right? And this all came from my training my daughter, Camille, to be a lacrosse star in New York. But that's a wholly separate story. That was before all this. But anyway, as punishment to her because she got caught skipping class. But that's a whole dialogue for another day. Sorry, Camille. Anyway, just saying. So to me, it is that 360-degree opportunity to really, through your prep process, invest in yourself, invest in learning how to style yourself and dress properly in different contexts, for cocktail parties, for mixers, for networking events, and of course, for formal interviews. So they learn those skills. They learn the body language and the poise and the posture. And there's some great interview coaches out there who coach interview in the real world, not just in pageantry. They're actual interview coaches. They're real people. And then to learn to walk, to learn to have control of your body, to learn that poise, that posture, in a public setting, so you're not slumped over, slouched over, whatever. And then to learn your health, fitness, wellness habits, which will last you an entire lifetime. And to me, that became the centerpiece. That becomes the real reason for doing this. Instead of yo-yo dieting and following the perfect plate and all this nonsensical garbage that you're sold, why don't you learn how to do how it really works and how to do it right so that you can carry those habits forward for the rest of your life without being a slave to a diet, without being a slave to the kitchen, without seeing food as your enemy or your adversary, which is so much of this polarized world, and that's what they're taught to do. So get off the yo. How do you do it when you're not yo-yo dieting and you're not crashing out and doing this and that? Is there actually a way to achieve it? Well, yeah, there is. And that's what I brought to I mean, I'm trying to teach these skills. And just the track record and the response to it has been tremendous. And the track record, the proven installed, client base, the track record has just been off the chain. I mean, it's just been off the chain. So that's really what it is. It's an opportunity through the prep process to really get that 360-degree mastery of the aspects of your life that contribute to that mind, body, spirit balance, which to me is the only success formula for lasting true success. That it's biblical. It's not in the Bible, but it is God's formula or the universal energy formula. If you don't like God, if you don't believe in that, there's a universal energy of creation, guys, that exists. And that we're all subject to those laws of the universe. And you really learn to master those and put them to use for yourself without making it a big freaking deal, making it natural and organic to you.
So, Craig, I understand from our earlier calls, just to spin this back, that pageantry has different layers. There's a layer of judging your appearance on stage, but as you were articulating, there's elements to this that have to do with personal interviews, how one conducts and carries themselves, how one dresses in different attires. So when you're talking about the optimization or maximization, you're not talking simply about the biological performance, the thing that we see. You're also talking about one's spirit or one's essence and how it's carried.
That's exactly right.
So when I said you're a life coach, there's a level of explicit mindset coaching along with the physical work that
Yes.
you're helping to build these clients into healthier humans, that when the pageantry's over, they have life lessons that will allow good health and wellness for a very long time.
Yes, and that opens up to them a pathway, a clear, easy, organic pathway to always mastering self, always being their five-star best, always trying to reach and achieve their true five-star potential in whatever way they choose to do it. Yeah. Wellness, health, fitness, wellness. Wellness is spirit, right?
Yeah.
Wellness is bigger than, oh, I feel cool today. It's a bigger spiritual. It's a state of mind. It's a state of being, where it just exists. When you get there, it just exists. It's not something you ever have to think about anymore. So instead of having food noise, thinking all the time, instead of trying to do this program, this diet, that diet, shift this, that, you make this an organic lifestyle by building small habits, by building a process that you implement daily.
Daily. So the question I have for you relates to your approach. I understand the reconciliation that it's not all about appearance, and I recognize the history that this is something you've walked the walk through personal experience. So you are us, them, we, me. You're the individual. You're not pontificating, do this, do that, but you've actually lived it. So
Yes.
I think that lends a level of authenticity that many do not have. And you weren't gifted with the DNA to be the perfect Adonis. You had to build health to get yourself to the physicality that you offer today. You're offering a science-backed, individualized approach.
Yeah.
What does
Yeah.
science-backed mean for the five-star potential that is uniquely different than the next five-star potential? Because I recognize individuals are interestingly different in chemistry and in DNA and biomes. How do you approach the science-backed process, and what is the protocols to making this individualized and not cookie cutter?
Right. Well, everybody comes with their own baggage, their own strengths and weaknesses, right? And it's a funny thing about human beings, the talents that come easiest to us, we don't consider important. We denigrate those. It's like somebody can draw and they draw something beautiful. I can't do that. Somebody can master 5 languages. That's not. I can't. To me, that's like some kind of voodoo science out of some H.G. Wells. Or I mean, I don't know how to do that. But they're like, oh, that's easy. I'm like, excuse me. So I think it begins with awareness, right? It begins with consciousness. But the real secret is understanding how things actually work from the outside in. So there's the gym, there's the physical component, the exercise, the loads, the work, the sequencing, because all progress is really sequencing. It's not, there's no mastery, there's no there's no secret in the moves themselves. It's how you put them together and how you switch them up as you make progress or lack of progress. That is what keeps you on that outside in curve, and keeps you ahead of the curve. But really understanding the inside out, which is biology. How does the body actually really work? So not, oh, I got a pain in my knee, so I'm going to go to the doctor. And he says, oh, you got RA, rheumatoid arthritis, and we're going to inject some cortisone and, whatever, blah, 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 blah. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about really understanding how your body actually works, how your metabolic system works, how your endocrine and hormonal systems work, how your cardiovascular system works, how your microbiome system works, and how they're all interrelated. So that pain in the knee is not necessarily just a pain in the knee. It tracks back to something else, something usually much bigger, a bigger root cause. So when you begin to understand the interplay, the interactions, then you can begin to attack from the inside out and use the amazing new tools that we have developing today to ease that journey and to help you on your path. And again, a big part of this is technology and learning, having the knowledge to use it and use it right. But that's optimization. That's the key to everything is, you have to understand, first of all, what is truly going on. What's the basis of this? It's not, I want to run 40 miles because I'll lose fat that way. It's like, okay, what does that do? What are the implications of that? And how are you going to have to handle those, in your daily life, right? You've got to understand how to piece things together to find your own solution. And again, people come with their own injuries, right? Previous injuries. They come with their own, surgeries and medical procedures that they've had, whether necessary or not. They come with a lot of these people today are on multiple prescription drugs. For the women, a lot of them are on birth control of various types, and all birth control is different. They've got different interactions, different things going on. And then they come with a set of symptoms, and learning to sit down, get to know them all as individuals, and then try different things to ameliorate, to try to solve things, try to see if we can ease a root cause instead of just easing symptoms. So we take that more holistic approach as we train. We don't stop the train. We just dive into the deep end of the pool and we're sorting it all out as we're learning not to drown, right? We don't sit on the sidelines and go, let's think about this and let's analyze this for 3 weeks before we're done. We're diving in, dude.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's
Yeah.
go. We're diving in. We'll learn while doing. We'll learn by doing. It's a big motivation to keep from drowning. But if you're not drowning, if you're on the sidelines, there's no motivation to learn anything.
Let me ask these questions. The tools, blood work? Do you do blood work for the baseline?
Absolutely. But again, since I deal mainly in the world of women, almost exclusively, they all have blood work all the time, right?
Okay.
For all sorts of things, right? I mean, it's just, so we always have blood markers to look at.
Got it.
And again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm a blood work expert. I understand, I'm not a medical doctor. But I understand the basics and understand how to interpret, understand what I'm looking for. And what I'm really looking for are gaps, holes, nutrient deficiencies in the blood work, hormonal disruptions, things like that, that could lead to bigger issues, bigger clue. They lead to more puzzle pieces, bigger clues as to what might really be going on. And then we try to do that. So we have two tools, two modes of attack really today in the world that are safe and available. Again, we're not talking politics or the availability, in terms of the medical community and all the lockdown and the canceling that goes on there. All right, but we're just going to talk in real world terms, if there were no barriers. And that is, you've got nutrient deficiencies, you've got nutritional supplements really good nutritional supplements out there that can, heal and fix those deficiencies. So you may not be anemic, but you've got constant ferritin issues in your blood, or you've got iron levels that are kind of variable, they're kind of sketch. And remember, blood work's not the be all and end all, because blood work doesn't necessarily indicate tissue absorption, right? So you might test perfectly normally for D3 or somewhere in the mid range, but I can tell you right now, by looking at you and getting to know you and training you, that you got a D3 deficiency. You got a big one, and that you're going to have to megadose in order to start to solve other issues, because D3 controls 40,000 different genomic processes, and it's more of a hormone than a Anyway, I'm not going to get into all that, but the nutritional supplements are the street level, right? So you go out on the street and it's got filled with trash, it's got potholes. So you call the nutrient supplements in, which are really the cleanup crew, right? They can do minor street repairs, fill in a few potholes here and there. They'll clean the trash off the streets. They'll wash it and all that. And then that keeps you functional. But the real action, of course, is underneath the street, right? That's where the sewer lines are and the sewage system is. That's where the plumbing lines are, which have to be separated from the sewage, right? That's where all the wiring is for not only your internet, everything else we do in this world. It's all under the street. And often there's a wiring issue. Often there's a leak in the pipes. Maybe the sewage is leaking into something, or, it overflowed and it's now leaking into something else. And that's got to be solved, got to be fixed. So that's the way I look at the second layer, which is of tools, which are really the peptides. And the peptides are an absolute miracle, but unfortunately, they're going to become, and they're already becoming, the biggest sales scam, in the history of nutrition, because people don't understand them and they're treating them like nutritional supplements. Like, oh, you've got a bad knee, take BPC 157. Okay, great. How do I reconstitute it? How do I take it? How often do I take it? Can I take it on an empty stomach, or do I take it in the morning, take it in the evening? Do I do both? How many units? What's the size of the vial? How many milligrams? What's going on here? Can I mix it with other stuff? What can I stack it with? What can I combine it with? What if I'm doing other? What if I'm on birth control? What if I'm on SSRIs? What am I? Is it going to have any impact? What's going to say again? Nobody wants to go there except the medical doctors. So they want to make it another extension of the ossified, the dysfunctional medical process. Instead of arming people with the information to take care of themselves, they're going to make you go through their clinical process, which means it's 20 times the cost. It's complete delay. There's no real time anything there. You're going to have delays. And when they find things, they're going to, send you to specialists so they get paid. And then they're going to combine pharmaceutical drugs with some peptide treatments and maybe a few nutritional supplements if they're feeling generous, thrown in on the side. And it's just going to end up being this big, complete, suboptimal results scam. So that's why, as busy as I am in my life, I bit the bullet and said, I have got to get some kind of a non-practitioner doctorate level knowledge of what's really going on inside the body and how these peptides work. So if you have real knowledge and you're able to obtain things that are outside the bureaucratic medical system, the deep state, you can do it at a fraction of the cost, and you can do it very efficiently. I mean, that's how we work. That's how we roll here.
Craig, this is outstanding. I appreciate the approach. I appreciate the thoughtfulness and the empathy that comes into meeting each client, specifically where they're at, as we had mentioned. I love the pioneering of a private, individualized approach. I don't believe people are templates, nor should they be treated as averages. There is a part to your roster, and it's quite impressive. And I'm thankful I'll have one of your clients on tomorrow. This will be our first three-part podcast. Meet Craig, meet a client, and then the two of you together. So I'm super excited to get this trilogy rolling.
You guys are going to love the client. She is true breakthrough. But anyway.
But to that point, I thought it was important. So it wasn't just a touch point. Here's an individual with a unique business and a unique skill set, but it's a more holistic approach. And I felt that was the best way to honor Body by Craig, as well as the results that you're driving. And clearly you come highly recommended from a person that I hold in extremely high regard, Suzanne. So shout out to her.
Yeah, Suzanne is our warrior princess. What is she? Our warrior provocateur,
Provocateur.
or there you
She's
go.
a
We love her.
spiritual Sherpa, all the good stuff.
She
But
really
listen,
is
um,
special lady.
there's an axiom that you use that I think is applicable to not just pageantry, fitness, optimization, but broader, whatever you're applying yourself to. And that is my language, not yours. Correct me, fact check me. You apply yourself, you coach to win, not to compete. What does that mean to you? And what does that actually mean in the day-to-day work?
Winning means prevailing, means meeting your own standards. You don't have to win a crown. You don't have to get into the top school. You have to do that to be a success. It's just another experience. It's just another, stepping stone. In the pageant world, the way I've always put it is you have to learn to win your own crown first before you are really ready to win and take on somebody else's. So you have to do it for yourself, and you have to be in it for higher purposes other than I just want to get jacked and look amazing and make a lot of money as a model. Okay, that's great. That's the application of it, but why are you doing it? Why are you getting up at 5 in the morning? Well, I have to do that to prep for the pageant, but as soon as that's over, I'm out of there, man. I'm not doing it. But then again, you're not getting it. Okay. You have to establish something, routines, processes that are simple, easy to follow, and effective that lead to continuous daily, weekly improvement. And that is for a higher purpose to be your absolute 5-star best and not be willing to, settle for second best in that. In other words, your goal isn't merely to win a crown or to win an award or to win elective office. It's to actually do something with it that benefits a higher place, a greater good, a bigger agenda, something that's actually helpful, that actually helps advance the ball. And it enriches you, believe it or not, at the same time. But if you're just in it for yourself, you're going to find the results very limited because you're dealing from a very low, a very narrow energy space.
Craig, I appreciate that. So the real bridge that you're building here, my language, is not a world of pageantry and it's not a world of physical coaching, but it's really a bridge to self-actualization,
Yes, sir.
self-agency, transformation.
Transformation.
And that
5-star, my full potential. And I'm 66 years old, dude, and I'm still growing. I'm still learning. I'm still progressing. In fact, I would say I'm not even 20% of the way to where I want to be. It's a constant quest, but it's a visualization. I visualize that. I envision that. I need to have a bigger space to operate in. I'm not just in it to make a living, punch a time clock, come home, take care of the kids. They're all in my way. I'm tired. You're dealing from ego at that point. You're dealing and you're making decisions. You're doing actions from a very narrow, very limited space because I'm your mom and I say so. Can you help me out here, mom? Is there a bigger reason? What's in it for me? Why am I doing it? Because you say so? Because it conveniences you? Or are you actually trying to help me here, mom? You're actually trying to grow me. You're trying to progress me. What do I get out of this? Just shut up and do what I say. That's a lot of the world today, isn't it? I'm picking on mothers there. I don't mean to. That's the president of the United States. That's everything and everyone with any kind of authority. I have the authority. I'll do what I want. And that's nothing to do with anything bigger. That's just pure ego. Look at Hollywood today. Look at why all the products suck. And you can say that about a lot of things in the entertainment world. And yet the potential, you've got all these 5-star underdeveloped and undeveloped players in their 20s. And you're going to meet one tomorrow who's developing fast. These people, they're not even, on the radar screen for a lot of these institutions who have a certain approach and they want to reward their own and they want to reward this and that. And so you got people with money today who think they're creative directors suddenly. And I've got money and, I love your concept, but why don't we switch it? Why don't we change it? Instead of making it about 20 somethings and unknown people, let's get some established people in there. Let's make it about 30s and 40 somethings since I'm in my 40s. And let's move it to a safe location, not a really cool location. And then you've now taken an amazing opportunity and you've institutionalized it. You've dumbed it down. You've taken all the vibe out of it. You took all the excitement and interest out of it, the newness out of it, and you've made it derivative to protect yourself and in order to reward yourself, in order to pursue your own agenda because you can. Because I'm the one who's got the money. I'm the one who's got the authority. And that's why things aren't working today, because you cancel other people, because you deplatform people, because you're not listening to other ideas, because you're not open anymore. It's tribalism. And we try to avoid that at all costs. So you cannot fall into tribalism within yourself. You have to be open to all approaches to everything. You can't just listen to what everybody else is doing and saying and all of that. You've got to understand how it impacts you. How does this feel to me? How does this resonate with me? If I do it this way, does that really work for me? Or am I just doing it because everybody else is doing it and it's going to lead to me nowhere? So that's what's going on. It's a bigger context. It has nothing to do with pageantry, fashion, anything. It has to do with the world as it is. And I'm 66, dude. So I am going to say I'm a self-proclaimed expert on this society today, and the way people interact and the way they do their jobs, the way they think isn't even remotely connected to the way it was 30, 40 years ago. Not even remotely connected to that. It's been disconnected. So when I was at Harvard Law School, as part of my grad program, and I actually clerked for the academic dean of Harvard Law School, which was a pretty big deal, actually. I mean, and I didn't want the job, and that's why he gave it to me, and that's a long story in and of itself. But my job, when I wrote his amicus briefs for the Supreme Court and all that, but my job was to look at both sides of every case, of every issue, and to explore them, to research them, to analyze them with equal rigor and vigor, that I had to understand thoroughly all sides, both sides of the argument before I was ever able to write our side of the argument, or where we come down on that. And often it was, some sort of a blend, right? Because you're going to learn things. When you cut off that opposition, that opposing voice, that voice of caution, or the other way, when you cut off the ones who are saying, let's go, let's do it, you're making decisions by definition from a place of fear, of ego, and whatever decisions you make, whatever actions you take, by definition, will be flawed. They will not succeed past possibly a short-term return and reward. There will be no sustainability there because it's not rooted in anything real, because it only reflects your tribe's agenda, your point of view. It's not reflecting the other side of the argument, which is legitimate and needs to be considered before you make these things. So I was able to look at our cases. I was able to look at the work I did and say, I am absolutely convinced in our argument, in our plan, in our desired action, because it was rooted in every possible way with opposite information, opposition. We wanted people to criticize it. We wanted them to tear holes in it. We wanted them to go after it so that we could learn. We can adapt. We can see if there's anything legitimate there. When you make decisions from that bigger place of energy, that holistic place, guess what? Success just flows like water, and it's sustainable. So we are in this ego-based, influencer-based, class-based, I've got the power, I've got the authority, I can do it, so I am. And then one of my biggest supporters comes out, someone I owe my life to, maybe my political office to, really, and says, well, I've tried to counsel you differently. I don't agree. I'd like you to consider this. Oh, let's cancel him. Let's string him up. Let's kill, like the mobs, in the Middle Ages, like the apostates and the heretics. Let's get them all, and let's deplatform them, and let's debank them, and let's destroy them. And then when you do that, what you're building, is a mess, and it has no sustainability because it has no grounding. It has no foundation in what's real. It only has foundation in what you think is real. And that's what makes AI so dangerous.
Well, there's one thing
That's what makes AI so dangerous, because it reflects your own biases, your own ignorance, your own stupidity. your own lack of knowledge in certain ways. When you write those prompts, you're getting biased, limited information and answers back. And yet, because it's AI and it's spit out, if we put it on a pedestal, right? Hey, that stuff is objective. That's the real answer. No, it's the answer that you program the freaking AI, app to produce for you in advance. It's just reifying, it's just verifying your own point of view, your own biases. But yet when that takes on the imprimatur of objectivity, that's what makes it so dangerous. And that's what's going to lead to really bad things in this world unless people wake up and start doing the opposite within themselves as individuals. So if you lead your life with a different process, guess what? You're not going to wake up and go to the company meeting and accept what's going on. You're going to say, whoa, 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 whoa. There's another point of view here. Why don't we take this into consideration? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And instead of being canceled, hopefully, they'll be listened to. But you have to do that within yourself at least, because that is what we can control. Can't control what goes on out there, but I can damn well control what goes on in here.
Craig, thank you. That's very well shared, well received. And it's clear to me that you're not here to perform, you're here to inform, and there's a distinct difference. I believe words matter. I believe that time is valuable. I appreciate you spending yours with us. The call to action, my takeaway is to get out of the echo chamber.
I love that. That's great. I like that. That's good.
The collective we, me, you, I, us. Let's get out of an echo chamber. And Body by Craig has a physical aspect to it, the physical body, but this conversation today enunciates that it's much greater than the body. It is the body of work, the body of life, the journey you're on. And so there's a double entendre in that word, the four-letter word BODY, that means much more than that. Craig, we're coming to the top of the hour. People are going to want to get in touch with you, whether it's for a consultation, a collaboration, an op-ed article that's being written, speaking engagement. How would you like one to go about doing that?
Just go to Betterment by Craig on Instagram, since my original Body by Craig Instagram site was mysteriously taken down by Meta like 8 months ago and has never been restored, even though we don't make any posts. We don't do anything like that. I've got two of the biggest professionals in the entire social media world who do it, for me. And they've got some very famous and very big clients, and I've never made a post in my life. So for some reason, we got targeted and removed. But Betterment by Craig is still alive and kicking, and you can just DM me there, and we'll keep it real simple. If there's anybody crazy enough out there to, want to get on this path of self-actualization and really go beyond what they're doing now, and maybe they think maybe I've got a couple of puzzle pieces here and there that they're missing that might fit into the broader scheme of what they're doing and might maybe help complete the bigger picture for them, then please reach out to me at Betterment by Craig on Insta.
Craig, appreciate that. We will include all of this in the show notes for anyone that may have missed it. We'll also put it into the LinkedIn post as well as our full social media cohort so that people can track you down. Craig, I
just want people to know that this is not just a lot of highfalutin talk. We have real steps, real things we do to help you achieve all of this. So we take the mystery out of it, and we take the complexity out of it, and we take the significance out of it. We want it to be natural for you. We want this to reflect you. I always say that every single one of my clients defines their own relationship with me. That is up to them. It's not up to me. They're not fitting into a program. I am fitting into their program, to their life, however they want it or need it.
Craig, this has been an amazing hour. I'm anxious to see what tomorrow holds in store for you.
Well, I live my own brand, so I think I am the walking testament to being a basket case physiologically and biologically, and achieving something a lot bigger than that. So.
Sir, thank you for your time. Friends, family, and cohorts, this has been the Fight or Flight podcast. Tune into us wherever you may find us. Messages of clarity, inspiration, and transmission with people doing remarkable things despite seemingly insurmountable odds. Brother Craig, that's a wrap.
Thank you so much.